Hey everyone, my name is Daniel, and in today's video we're going to talk about the Power Apps Plan Designer because this truly is the next step in the evolution of intelligent apps. First, I'll walk you through an example of how to plan a design. Then, show you the finished solution, which also includes the tables and the apps. So stick around, especially if you're planning for your next solution, which is a combination of tables, some designing, and building Canvas apps and model-driven apps. But first, here's my new intro video. So I call this as the evolution of Power Apps because I have first-hand experience it. I remember the first one when we were able to leverage this Copilot, we would go ahead and put in a prompt and it would go ahead and create a Canvas app with one screen and one table. The table was on Dataverse, and that itself was huge. But then it took that next step where it would actually build multiple screens, but before that, it would build multiple tables and automatically go and create relationships of those. And that itself was fascinating because a lot of people came in where they didn't have the database background, and it automatically went and created that relationships in the back end of it, again in Dataverse. But now there's been the next big step where prior to even going and building these apps, we are doing the designing phase, the planning phase over there, where you first of all go and see who are the different people who are going to actually use these apps, what are their roles and functionalities, then the different tables that will be used. That too, relationships are all built over there. It even goes ahead and adds some test data. But then after that, it automatically goes and makes the decision that, hey, there should be maybe one model-driven app and then one Canvas app, and sometimes even both. And then it also gives you the recommendations of the different types of cloud flows that you need. So this is why I call the evolution of now not just into apps or flows, but the overall intelligent apps that it goes and builds, this full solution. So now that you understand what this overall concept is, let's go and build one from scratch. So I want to challenge this plan designer with a real world scenario. And it's very applicable because right around this time of the year, which is from December right up to March, my family together volunteer for this nonprofit organization functionality. And that is basically to help our neighbors, specifically those who are homeless, to provide them some shelter and all the resources that they need. So to run this enterprise, it actually has two leads. And then after that, people are segmented into different groups. So for example, my family does a few things. We go ahead and set up the cots in the room, making sure that they have the bed set up over there and all the utilities that they need. Then we are also table hosts, which means we sit with our neighbors and we have food together. And some of us also do the food serving. So you see, those are just our responsibilities. But there are other things. People will go ahead and pick up our neighbors using their own vehicles and even drop them. Another set of, usually a set of two, will actually stay at the night to serve them. And then the breakfast the next day. So you see, it is quite the enterprise process to run it. And I want this app to manage that. So the first thing that you do is actually provide a really good prompt over here. And this is my entire description, which we'll read through in a minute, right over here, right? I've actually gone and put this information, which is keep track of all responsibilities and tasks in a nonprofit organization that provides shelter to homeless neighbors. And then there's more information, such as running this organization requires transportation, a place to shower, dinner, bedding, breakfast, and bag lunches. We need a way to keep track of all who are going to volunteer for which responsibility. Responsibility is broken down into leaders and volunteers. For the dinner and breakfast, we need to know who are bringing the food. For dinner, the category is broken down into appetizer, main food, and dessert. For overnight, we need to know who is setting up the cots and the two volunteers who's going to be the overnight hosts. Finally, for transportation, we need to know who is picking up and dropping off. So this is the overall prompt that I've given. Now in this case, you have the option to also go and add attachments. So if I go and click on this, it opens up a window, and here you can actually go and put in images which may already have a workflow process or an org diagram, stuff like that. In my case, it is purely down to the description, but you might actually have some attachments. Go ahead and try that over here. All right, so I'm good on this side. So I'm actually going to click on go. And here is where we come into the first place, which is where the designer is actually going and working on it. So I actually got my hands up over here because it is actually doing all of this by itself. And it does take a while, so it's best that we leave it running over here while you and I have a discussion going on. So the first thing on the top was the title. You see, it automatically went and added the shelter volunteer management. That is the proposal, all right? Right off the bat, it is pretty awesome. It seems to have finished, but I want to make sure you and I read through this. So the first thing is user roles. Leader. That is what you and I also mentioned, all right? It says, as a leader, I need to, and here are some bullet points. It's saying, assign volunteers to specific tasks so that the responsibilities are covered. Huge, huge ones. Because mentally, that's what I was stating in my big prompt that I gave, is that the two leaders manage the overall functionality. And yes, there are some subsections going on, but the leader should do that. So it took my wording and translated that very well into an action item, which is assign volunteers to specify tasks so that the responsibilities are covered. Then track who is bringing food for dinner so that we have enough food for everyone. Track who is bringing food for breakfast so we have enough food for everyone. Assign volunteers, like I'm going through over here bullet by bullet. It has picked up everything. In addition, it added more. For example, over here it says, send reminders to volunteers about their tasks so that they don't forget their responsibilities. You and I know I didn't put that in, but it automatically, the generative AI in the backend told Copilot that, hey, I want you to put this as well. I'm very pleased with that additional information, so I'll leave that as is. But this is for the leader piece, all right? So now let's go about the volunteer. Volunteer is a person who assists with various tasks and responsibilities. As a volunteer, I need to sign up for specific tasks so I can contribute to the organization. View my assigned tasks so that I know what I need to do. And then update my responsibilities so that leaders can plan accordingly. And these are all the other ones that I actually put in the original prompt. Things like bringing the food for dinner, food for breakfast, to set up the cots, which again is my family, overnight host, transportation, and then notification about my tasks as a reminder of my responsibilities. So this is basically step 1 of 3. Again, we were focusing so much over here. Let's actually take a look at the right, because it's actually even giving us a workflow type of a diagram. The first one was the business problem, all right? This over here is what I had to talk about, the whiteboarding. You actually see what's going on. The business problem is you have this situation that you have to run, and it needs to break down into leaders and volunteer. So those are good. That's where I'm going to go ahead and say I'll accept this over here, right? Because now we've got the overall process. It is identifying the tables and the columns needed. So this is like the next phase which is going on. Again, over here, this can take time, so we just have to wait. But let's have a discussion, because what it is doing is it is still identifying and working on the table structure. At this point though, it doesn't actually go and create the tables. It is only going through and identifying, designing, which you and I know is called as the planning phase. All right, so while we were talking, this is what it came up with. All right, let me scroll down a little bit, and also over here, let me just move this up overall. So the data piece right now, again, hasn't been built yet. This is just in the planning phase. But let's take a look at it. All right, so it already has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Total number of 6 tables created. And they are leader, volunteer, responsibility, tasks, volunteer assignment, and then the food contribution. Now it went ahead and added this additional one for the food contribution. Why? Because there was a night event and then also the next day breakfast event, the dinner and the breakfast. So it makes sense why it went ahead and added this over here. But what I want to do is actually see on the details side. So right over here on the top right, there is show details. As I click on it, this is where it takes you into the back end magic. This is the whole data schema or the data structure. And look at all of these relationships that it automatically went and built. I can actually do a drag and the drop so we can actually see what's going on right over here too. See, dragging and the dropping. So these are all the tables created. See, the leader piece and the responsibility piece, 2 separate tables. But the responsibility does have a one-to-many for the tasks. Same thing for the tasks. It has a one-to-many for the different food contributions, but that also has the one-to-many from the volunteer piece over here. So this whole data structure, data schema, data design, data architecture, whatever we come up with, was automatically created part of the plan. This is pretty neat, all right? Because us day-to-day people, power users, we don't come with this background knowledge. So really, really happy of how it went ahead and did all of this. So I'll click on the back piece right now, right? Because now we are in step 2, which is everything is done from the database side as well. So I'll go ahead and click on accept now, because the next phase is identifying the user experiences needed, which means what are the different types of apps and workflows that is going to be done. All right, so it says it's done over there as well. I'll go and scroll down and voila, it actually went and created 2 apps and one workflow. So let's go and take a look at that from the designing workflow side over here. So the leader task management app is actually a model-driven app. And I like the way it thought that, because that is something I would have done as well. Whenever there is the management piece of it, which all the tasks and everything, that's usually done on a desktop anyway. And it's nice to have a spreadsheet view with different views and maybe a pop-up form. And to me, that rings a lot like model-driven app. So I'm liking that it actually went and factored that in as well. But the volunteer task sign up needs to be a very simple app, preferably a mobile type of app. And what best to provide that service as a Canvas app. So again, kudos to this whole plan designer, because it is spot on and at least following some of the thought process that I might have as well. And then finally, the Power Automate workflow. It went ahead and taken care of that as well. You see the pieces over here? That's the one that it is recommending. All right, so this is all around on the step number 3. I like that. So I'll go ahead and I'll click on accept. All right, now keep in mind that any point of all of this, you can go ahead and make changes as you want as well. I just like the way it works over here so far, so I'm going to keep it as is. All right, so around the bottom over here, it says you accepted all sections. When you are ready, select the plus icon to create and open each item. Well, what I'm also going to do is go ahead and click on save first, right over here. Save, click on that. What it first does is creates it as a solution, which is perfect. This is the way we should all be thinking anyway. It is a very solution first type of a mentality we should have. So the proposal for the solution is very appropriate. It's itself saying that it is a shelter volunteer management. That was the overall plan designer name. So over here, even the solution name is right there. It's a shelter volunteer management. And if I click on the advanced, this is basically who's going to be the publisher. It goes ahead and picks a default one. Or if you already have some, you can go and select that. So I'll go and leave that as is over here. Name is also good. I don't have an existing solution, so because in this case, I'm creating a new one. So I'll just go and keep everything as is and click on save. So now it is actually going and doing the save piece over here. And once I did that, it is also just went ahead and did a quick touch just to make sure everything is good. Just went and did all this update. But notice something new that happened. So see over here on this section over here, for the model-driven app, for the Canvas app, and for the Power Automate flow, it has this plus sections. And this is what it was alluding to before, is that when you are ready to go and build the stuff, which is the apps and the flows, click on this plus, so it actually goes and builds it. Again, the emphasis on that is that this is in the plan designing phase. We haven't actually built anything yet. But if you are ready, you can actually start building it. So you have two options. You can go ahead and actually start building the apps in the workflow, or this table structure which has been given, you can go and save the tables. So it's up to you. Now, for what I wanted to do was, before I actually had the apps built, I wanted to actually have the tables built. So in this case, I'm going to come and click on saving tables. Basically, it actually goes and starts saving all of this data structure, which means actually creating the tables, adding correct columns over there, just going and taking care of all of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for all of these to finish first. Then we'll go back in and build the apps, each of them. And then we will be in the apps, we'll have tied the tables so we can actually see how this app is functioning. And while the saving is happening on the right side, even on the left side in the planning, it is also showing that, hey, I'm still saving, which is why it's in green color. And you can see those arrows which are spinning. Hey, by the way, it just finished, right, while I was talking. Therefore, it actually gave us the Dataverse table. That is why it's given us the Dataverse icons to show that all of these tables are done. And it's even giving us our table names, because it's the name, the helpful name is leader, but the actual name, table name has the CR20D underscore. So that's the prefix. That also is a good sign that everything is ready. If you also go to the show details, and we can see all the tables that are built. If I click on this view data now, for each of these tables, it has actually given us some examples. So for the leadership one, that's what I've selected. This is the one. If I go to the volunteer piece, this is the data which is over here. See, all of this is right over here added. And this information here is coming in from the prompt that I gave. So it's pretty neat that we also have some information added over here. Now you've got the flexibility to go ahead and make some changes on that. You can actually go to the properties, but I'm going to leave it as is. I'll go and hide the data. I'll go back because that phase is done. What we're going to work on now is building the apps piece. So the first one that I want to work on is the leader task management. And for that, right over here, where is the plus, I'm going to click on it. it opens up a new window, and this is where it says checking your tables. So the table piece is already done, but it is going to basically just do a trust but verify, and that's what it is doing. Also, when I mentioned over here, it opened up another tab, so it's not disturbing what you already have. On the new tab, it's actually coming into the building of the app piece, and it is checking our table. Now, we have a lot of tables. We also had some data. There is some relationships in that table. That is why the checking of the tables does take a little time. And also keep in mind, this is all in preview, which means it always tends to be a little slow during the preview time, but it will speed up. But hey, not bad, all right? While I was just talking over here, it went ahead and finished all of this. So this is a model-driven app. It has gone ahead and created our different types of views. Again, all of them created for the leaders, volunteers, responsibilities, tasks, volunteer assignment, food contributions. We already have some data in the views over here. If I want to go and take a look at any of the data table structure in the app, this is where I go and do it. And then I can also go and do a test. So right over here on the top right, if I click on the play, it's asking, hey, your app has been unpublished. It says, hey, your app has unpublished changes. That's fine. I'll click on publish and continue. So this part over here inside the studio, you and I are already familiar with, all right? Making model-driven apps, that's not new. But what I want to actually do is actually just take a look to see, hey, what kind of form did it build? So it is done over here. So what I'm going to do is click on this play. It takes us into the model-driven app. And so from the leader standpoint, if I just click on this new, it takes us into a very simple form. There is the name and the owner. But let's take a look at the volunteers also. This should also be pretty simple, all right? Again, name and the owner. From the responsibilities over here, there are a few other things. It's like, what is the name? What is the owner? Description. Now, you and I know for model-driven apps, we have the flexibility to at least modify a little bit of this form. So that is something you have the full access to do that as well, which is not what I'm going to cover in this video. But what I want to do is go back again, all right? Go back, and just to make sure, now over here, see the shelter volunteer management? It is our full plan. But that plan hasn't finished yet, all right? So I'm going to actually close these two tabs off because I'm going to come back over here. And you see that that plus has now become a pencil. Pencil means you can always go back and edit. So we've got the model-driven app done. Let's go and finish the Canvas app. So when I come back over here, same thing, opens up another tab. But now we're going to go into the Canvas App Studio, and you already are familiar with it. See, on the tree view here, that's inside the Canvas App Studio. It is going ahead and now building its stuff. So let's see how many screens it goes ahead and builds. The tables is already here. So I suspect it'll at least have a few screens, definitely a form, and then maybe a home screen. So it looks like it's almost finishing. And there you go. It says, welcome to Power App Studio. Okay, we are all good over here. And so let's do a quick count. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It went and created 6 screens, which is pretty neat. If I come on this table structure over here, it has gone ahead and brought in all our tables as well. So if I now go and just click on this play, you can see that these are the different sections. So if I click on the volunteers, it is now, again, just as I anticipated, it's basically got a different section of screen. There is a gallery, and over here, there is basically the form piece. Now, this is going to be mostly for the end users, not for the leaders. So for the end users, it needs to be a little bit more responsive. So it works on the browser side. It will also go ahead and work in from the phone side. It just goes ahead and works. So that's pretty neat. Out of the box, went ahead and took care of that. Again, you are familiar with this part of it, so I won't deep dive too much into it. What I do want to do is make sure that it is saved and then gone ahead and publish it so we don't lose any of this work. We'll go ahead and publish that one as well. Publish is done. I'll go ahead and close this tab. Yes, I can go ahead and leave. And now you see right over there, it actually just happened in a second, was that the plus became a pencil, which means now you can always go back and edit it. The final piece is now for the Power Automate flow. And this is something that you need to be aware of right now. So check this out. If I go and click on this plus, a new tab opens up. It stays in the same environment, but over here, it is going to basically come to the screen, like right over here. It comes into your environment for the Cloud Flows, and it leaves it as blank. And it's also telling me that, hey, your Cloud Flows is 0. Why is this? Because right now in this preview phase, it is not ready to go and build the flows for you, specifically the Cloud Flows. Maybe in the future, it will have that functionality as well, but just right now in this phase, you can't do it. However, it is giving you full flexibility to go and build your own. So it's not that you are stuck in any way that, man, I can't actually go and do that. No, you have full flexibility to build your own as long as you just build it in this solution. And also remember, when we come over here, it is telling you what it should be, is that it's a volunteer notification. So it's not like you got to rethink this from scratch. No, it's already given you an idea. You just got to come over here and build it. So that is the only limitation currently in this phase in the preview one, but I'm excited to see in the next phase if this is also automatically done. And right here in the solution, it's really a good way to end this video by just taking a look at everything that was built. First of all, right here you can see that it's got two apps. This is the one that you and I just looked at, Model Driven App and Canvas app. It also shows you your overall plan, which is the one that we have created. Now you can also come and see the plan. It's best that you actually see the plan by coming into your main place, which is again going on the main side in the app, making sure you're in the correct environment, and you can see the apps and plans right over here. Preferably, this is the way to do it, because if you click on it, specifically this pencil to edit it, it takes you into this view. And this is a good place to actually get an overview right up from the top to see what was the big prompt that you give, what was the roles that you created, everything. Like, this is a good place. Again, we can go back over here. You see what is called as a plan artifact. Artifact is just one way of saying what was the design or the logic that you had from this perspective over here. So in our case, there was actually three of them. There was the leader task, volunteer task, and then also the notification. So it broke it down into at least three of them. Sitemaps, well, because we had a model-driven app, there is a sitemap over here. And then these are the 6 tables that it went and gave the recommendation. So this is a nice place to basically go and do all the overview. And I just want to end over here by saying is that this is the first solution that was created. So it is unmanaged, but you've got the flexibility now to do any migrations and changes and whatsoever. Pretty awesome. So as a friendly reminder, this is currently in preview, which is also why the Power Automate Cloudflow is not available. So you know what my terms are when it comes to preview. Look, touch, play, just don't go production with it. But if you've got any future plans for solutions you're going to build, test it over here. Come up with a good prompt, go ahead and do some designing, plan with your designing, come up with the table structure. It'll also go and tell you, hey, maybe you need 2 model-driven apps and 1 Canvas app and so on and so forth. That way you know what your structure is, just don't go production with it. So hopefully this video got you excited, and more importantly, start having your wheels turning for some of the ideas that you might already have, but instead of you building it, you can leverage intelligent apps. Hey, if you have a few seconds, can you click on that like button and even consider subscribing it? Because it's just 2 easy clicks for you, but boy, it makes a big difference for me. Also, if you don't mind, can you put in a comment below? Because that really boosts this video up to reach a higher audience. And once again, thank you for watching this video.